Cool. Okay, so thanks everyone for coming. It's very exciting to have you all here. And I want to talk about things that I deeply care. I've been working in UX for a long time. I work in product now. But for me, user psychology is something that we always need to take into account and something that really dictates the way I make decisions. So I want to share with you some examples. And what I want to do, because I understand that you don't come from UX, maybe someone comes from UX? You? Okay, so this might be boring for you, but hope not. I'm going to give you a brief explanation about things that we do in UX. I won't go super deep because there's not a UX talk. Then I will give you a super quick guide to user psychology. If there was a user psychologist here, he will be very nervous because it's a super quick guide. So it's something that will give you some hints in order to make decisions when you're either building or testing a product. And then, of course, we will talk about GenAI, because who's not talking about GenAI now, as Vitaly said. So we need to talk about how is GenAI affected by these user psychology things that we just saw, okay? Because, as you know, it's AI. AI is for humans, and humans, we have a brain, we have our psychology, we do weird things. So let's see. But first, who am I? What am I doing here? Constant questions that I ask every morning. So hello, it's me, Julia. I'm lead PM at Case. As I said, I worked many years in UX and UX leadership, and then I moved to product management. I've been working in product management for 9 years. I'm certified in user psychology and UX strategy by the Nielsen Norman Group. If you don't know, there's very important people in the UX world. And then I'm currently building AIDEN, which is GenAI automated testing for Case. Cool. So what is UX, and why should I care? I mean, I know why should I care, but what should you care? And you've probably seen this. UX is not design. Have you seen this? Have you seen this? Have you seen this little dumb picture of the ketchup? Like, this is UI and this is UX. Okay, so I'm here to tell you UX is design. What? Why? UX is design, but it also is development. And it's also QA. And it's also sales. It's also support. It's also marketing. UX is everyone. Because no team is going to achieve a good user experience if not everyone is involved in building that user experience. So we need to be able to ensure that we can bring a good user experience in every touch point that our customer have with us. Not only in design of an interface. We need to check performance. We need to make sure when we're testing the application that we know how our user will behave and we can foresee the problems that they will have. We need to have a good sales life cycle. We don't need to be jerks or sell like lies. We need to set the expectations right for the experience to be good in the end. And of course, in support, of course, in marketing, we need to take into account our user needs and bring this holistic UX vision to our products. Because in the end, UX is just putting the user in the center. There's one sentence that we say a lot in UX, and I keep saying it because we keep forgetting is, we are not the user. We're just people, and our users might have different behaviors, might have different needs. So we need to understand what is their context, what are their needs, what are their peculiarities. But other than that, because that you achieve by user research, you achieve by really understanding the user personas, what is their setup, what are their tools that they're using normally. But deeper than that, we're all humans. I would say that 99.9% of our users are humans. Is there anyone here who has a user who's not human?
I identify as not human.
You identify. That's the 0.1%. That's Vitaly. Okay. But we're humans, and humans, we have brains, and we do weird, funny, strange things. Okay? That's the cool part of being human. So we sometimes think, if I do this and this and this, if I explain to the user that if they touch this red button with a bump, all the test suite will be deleted, and that they should be careful, they will not press it. Perhaps, or perhaps they will press it, okay? And we're going to see why sometimes we make very bad decisions, and our users also make these bad decisions, okay? Because we're irrationals. This is the super quick guide to user psychology. And I'm just going to talk about 4 topics very briefly, that we need to take into account when we're thinking of our users. So first thing is behaviors. We can ask a user to do something. We can prepare a path, very well prepared, and a user will do whatever they want to do. They don't care what we want. They will do what they want, okay? We also have limitations. Perhaps me as a user, I want to do something, but my brain can't process it. And I want to read the terms and conditions, but I'm not going to read them because I can process them. And I just want to go to the final step and saying yes to everything. We have frameworks. We have some expectations of how things need to work. And it's very difficult for us to change our user behavior. We need to adapt to their frameworks and mental models. And finally, and the most fun part of this is biases. We sometimes make very bad decisions, totally irrational decisions, because of things that we've seen first or last, or expectations that we had. So we're going to see some of these biases later. So who knows what's a desired path? Italy, you don't count. Anyone here knows what's a desired path?
Maybe it's a path that we expect that user will do.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. This is the path that we expect the user will do. We build this beautiful path here. And then users go, and instead of doing this, they're doing this. And the more users they do this, you're doomed. No one is going to go through this route. And it's fine. It's fine. Sometimes we can't foresee this all the time, and we're building this, and then we realize this is happening. That's why we need to measure constantly. And perhaps we need to rebuild this path and make this nicer and adapt to what our users need because they found a shortcut. Okay? This is called desire paths. Then the monkey business illusions. Do you know this? Does anyone know this? Okay, if you know, don't do spoilers. This is a very old video, but it was very funny, so I had to put it. Okay? So let's watch this video. This video will give you some instructions. Please pay attention. It's very important that you follow the instructions.
The monkey business illusion. Count how many times the players wearing white pass the ball. The correct answer is 16 passes. Did you spot the gorilla? For people who haven't seen or heard about a video like this before, about half missed the gorilla. If you knew about the gorilla, you probably saw it, but did you notice the curtain changing color or the player on the black team leaving the game? Let's rewind and watch it again. Here comes the gorilla, and there goes a player, and the curtain is changing from red to gold. When you're looking for a gorilla, you often miss other unexpected events. And that's the monkey business illusion.
Did you guys spotted the gorilla? Everyone? No. First time it was like, there's no gorilla. There's no way there's a gorilla. And then you see it, it's like, it's huge. The gorilla is huge and it's in the middle and I didn't see it. And then I found this video, and because I was looking for the gorilla, I was like, I don't know if this is the right one because the gorilla is really visible. But then it asked about the curtain changing color and the player leaving the room. I was like, oh, I didn't notice that. So this showed us that when we're focusing on something, we're missing other stuff. And this is very important in UX design because I've had multiple conversations with UX and design in my teams saying about a model, about if we put a model saying, warning, don't delete this, or if you delete this, you're going to affect these many teams that are using this test suite. And people still do it, and then they contact support and say, we deleted. I was like, how did they delete? They didn't even read because they are focusing on another thing. They didn't see the model. They just wanted to go and do what they wanted to do. So this is why our brain just ignores whatever is not important for the brain in that moment. Cool. Then third part, mental models and affordances. So here we will, and this is more a design thing, but it's also important when we're testing to make sure that we understand that what we're designing, it's the expected behavior. And we understand what are our users expecting of this tool so that we can make it work for their mental models. In this example, we have a door that say pull, but it looks like it's going to have a push door. So users will get that wrong. And I'm sure you've had that case when you go to a place and you just get the door wrong all the time. It's not your fault. That's how your brain works. It's the building's fault. That door is weird. That's why it's not working for you. And that we need to take into account when we're building products. Okay? So we need to adapt to our customers' mental models and expectations and build patterns and just use standards and not reinvent the wheel every time. And then things need to look like how they need to be used and not differently, okay? Cool. And then this is the first bias that I'm going to talk about. And this happened to me a lot, and I'm sure this might happen to you too. So some researchers ran an experiment, and they found out that if we show different options, we show many options to a user or just a person, they will take a long time deciding, which makes sense. But not only that, but they will be very dissatisfied with their choice, which doesn't make sense. If you had 20 options, you could compare, you can make a choice, and then it's like, this is the good one because I compared it to 20. Whereas if you show 4 options, they would decide quicker and also be happier with their choice. Why? I don't know. That's how our brains work. So when we're building a product, we need to understand that, and we need to make sure that if we're showing a lot of options, we're confusing our users, and our users will be less happy. So there's a book, say, Don't Make Them Think, that talks about UX. That's the most important part. Don't make your users think, just make it easy for them to act without thinking, which makes sense. And another thing that I'm adding, because sometimes you work in complex products and users need to think a little bit. So it's not like, yeah, let's make it all like colors and clicking and easy. Sometimes it's difficult. But the reward has to always be bigger than the effort for our users to be able to perform the task and be happy performing it. Do you agree with these two things? Cool. I wanted that. Because here's where GenAI is killing it.
They don't give us choice.
You might. You always have a choice, multiple choice. Here's where GenAI is killing it. You don't need to think. You ask something, you get the response. You don't even need to choose between different responses. You just have it there super quickly. And 0 effort, high reward. Okay, what's the problem then? What happened? Okay, no. What's the problem with GenAI then? Maybe that. GenAI is a magnifying glass. And I was talking to Bernard the other day because everyone's making metaphors with GenAI. So I'm adding mine. It's a magnifying glass. It amplifies our virtues. When I know how to do something, this is like a very powerful tool to make me go faster and farther, which is very cool. But when I don't know how to do anything, it can make me fail really bad. Okay? So it amplifies our virtues, but also our flaws. And we were discussing biases and the shortcuts that our mental model, that our minds are making. And those are very amplified by AI. So we need to take extra care. And the truth is we're lazy. We're lazy, or our minds are lazy. We've seen we have limitations because we're trying to optimize our energy to get to a better outcome quicker, faster, with less effort. Everyone does. I don't know, maybe someone don't, but in general, 99%, 99 point, maybe Vitaly does. So 99.9% of the people are lazy. And we use mental shortcuts, and those mental shortcuts are our cognitive biases. Those mental shortcuts are the ones that are bringing or presenting us information that it's maybe not real and are leading us to make decisions that are not rational. And we have some examples here, okay, that I want to share with you. And I've split it so we have cognitive biases when you're building GenAI products. We need to take into account first our own cognitive biases, because up to now I was talking about biases and limitations for our customers. But when we're building with GenAI products, we also need to take into account our own biases and, of course, users' cognitive biases. And I want to start by, okay, when we're ideating or deciding what to build, it's more a product thing, but sometimes everyone in the team participated. Should we build this? What would be the best solution? And what are the cognitive biases that we can have there? First one is the bandwagon effect. Can you tell me here who has the mandate in their company to either build an AI product or use an AI product? Can you raise your hands if you've had some requests, like we need to build something with AI?
AI first.
We need to be AA first. We need to start using AA tools. Can you raise your hands if that's has happened to you? Okay, cool.
Just recently.
Huh?
Just recently, yes.
Yeah, it happens to everyone. It's everywhere. Everything is AI. So it's normal that then the ones that haven't raised your hand, if someone in the leadership team sees this, they will be like, everyone's doing AI, we're not. We should do that. We should do that too. If everyone's doing it, they're smart people, it must be good. Let's do that. And I'm not saying it's wrong. It might be good, but also it might not be the best solution for us. So what happens now and what's really happening everywhere is the bandwagon effect. Everyone's building AI or using AI tools because it's what it has to be done now, because everyone's doing it. So how can we prevent the bandwagon effect? And we can ask some very simple questions. And these are not new questions. These come from the US from the beginning, from product development. First thing is, what is the problem that you're solving? Is there a problem to be solved? Is everything working really well in your company? You're doing great. Every process is magical. Why do you need AI? Everything's working really well. Or is there a problem that needs to be solved, which would be like, yes to this, we should solve a problem, but is AI the right solution? Can this problem be solved more cost effectively or quicker or easier with another tool? If the answer is no and it needs to be AI, then cool, perfect. Build a GenAI product, that's fine. Okay, but just ask this question before just jumping on the bandwagon and doing the same that everyone's doing just for the sake of doing it. Second one is answering. And this is something that happens to me a lot, because at first, when we were talking about GenAI at the beginning, it was like, it's really cool to start working. So it removes this blank page panic. So I will just start brainstorming with chat, and then I will get some results. And from there, I will say, no, not this one. Yes, this one. This is a good idea. I will improve this one. And I thought that was a very legitimate way to use AI. But no, why? Because our brain answers the first piece of information that we're getting. And everything we think after that is compared to that. So perhaps it's in to try to contradict that idea. But that first idea that the AI is bringing is limiting your brainstorming. You will always be tied and moving in circles around the AI idea. So how to solve this? And I know it sucks, but start brainstorming yourself alone, just 10 minutes. Just write a couple of ideas, even if they're dumb. Write them down, but at least you have the first piece of information. It comes from your brain, it comes from a human, and then you can use AI to either amplify, contradict, or expand your ideas. And that's a way more creative way to get better outcome out of using the AI. Cool. These were the two biases that I wanted to share about ideating and deciding what to build. And now I want to talk about building and training the models. So the first one is selection bias, and I'm sure you've heard about this face recognition technology that worked really well with Caucasians, but not that well with other communities, because the people who was building this model were all Caucasians. So the model was biased by the lack of options in selections. It's like if Homer just developed a model for a biasing about fashion. It would be fairly simple, okay? Cool. Another one is the Sycophancy, I don't know how to pronounce that one, but this, mirroring bias, okay? And this is tricky because our model is learning for customers. So it might have our selection bias, and then we put it out there. We wait for customers' feedback. Customers want the AI to agree with them, so they will say yes, and they will give positive feedback about the things that agree with them, even if they're not entirely true or the most correct option. And then the model will learn about things that are not correct. We will narrow the loop even more. Okay, so it's another thing that we need to take into account. How can we prevent this? So the first thing is we need to reflect on our team. Is the team building this diverse? If it's not, then we need to find some diversity. It doesn't mean that we need to hire diversity for this purpose, but we need to then find people who can test this or do user interviews or bring more people on the table so that we can open the bubble and not be limited to our own beliefs. Then related to the customers or the MVP to avoid the mirroring or sycophancy, we need to also make sure that it's quite diverse so that we don't train the model wrongly. Okay. Cool. Another one when assessing the AI output quality. Okay. So first one is automation bias. And for that, I want to show you a video. Let's start with a video.
A very good point, Dwight.
Make a right turn.
Wait. No. It means bear right.
No,
Up there.
It said right. It said take a right.
No, look. It means go up to the right, bear right, over the bridge, and hook up with 307.
Make a right
Maybe it's a
turn.
shortcut, Dwight. It said go to the right.
It can't mean that. There's a lake there.
I think it knows where it is going.
This is the
The
lake.
machine
This
knows.
is the lake.
Stop yelling at me.
No, it's
Stop
up there.
yelling.
There's no road here.
We all laugh, but we love being there. I mean, not there like falling into a lake, but there to, have doubts about our own thing because the automation is contradicting it. So sometimes I feel like I'm human. Humans make mistakes, so perhaps the automation is right, the machine is right. And that's when bias, because it doesn't make any sense. If you knew one thing, you need to be sure of the thing you knew, even if the machine is telling you the opposite. Okay, so that's another irrational bias that we're having. And then we have the automation complacency, which is different, but it can iterate on there because this is, you can be checking the output and you can see, okay, first result is good, second result is good, third result is good. After the fifth result is like, it's always good. I stop checking. I just start trusting and I don't check anymore because I just offload my brain. I'm tired. I believe this will work, so I don't check anymore. And then we can have another error in option 10, and we don't know, and we will never know. And then we have confirmation bias, which will make this other two big, because once we think that the output is going to be right, our brain will pay more attention to the hints that tell you that it's right than the hints that tell you that it's wrong, because we want to be right. So we will sometimes ignore some pieces of information. Let's see this video.
What do you think the chances are of a guy like you and a girl like me ending up together?
Well, Lloyd, that's difficult to say, and we really don't...
Hit me with it. Just give it to me straight. I came a long way just to see you, Mary. Just...
Least you can do is level with me. What are my chances?
It's not good.
You mean not good like 1 out of 100?
I'd say more like 1 out of 1,000,000.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah!
That's classical confirmation bias that happens a lot in love. And this one I really like, and that's something that for non-native English speakers, I think it happens also when we hear someone speaking English really well. I was like, this person is really smart. Maybe they're not, but they speak English really well. And here in the AI, you can get a response that makes total sense. It has some example, it's really well written. It sounds right, so it must be right. Sometimes when we see something in a form that's very professional or really cool, we trust it more, even if it might be totally bullshit. But we don't even think about it because it's plausible. It could be right. That's another bias. So how can we prevent those bias that affect? These are very difficult, but the first thing that you need to do to try to prevent those biases is be aware of them. So if we know they exist, we can take like, am I having a confirmation bias here? So the first thing for automation bias, we can use, I like this with me, because we're going to use another bias against this one. So we're going to enter our answers first. We're going to try to think ourselves first before asking. We're going to see what result would we expect. And then if it's written, we'll enter there. And when we get the response, we won't automatically believe that. And if it doesn't match, we will check why. Maybe we were wrong, but at least we will check why. Then complacency. We can't be testing every time. We can have a rigor test of all the outputs because it could be huge. But we could automate some random checks, maybe 10% of the outputs, to try to cut some of the things and not just fully abandon and just trust everything that comes out of there. For confirmation bias, ask AI to roast your ideas or act as a devil advocate. Then you will get some contrasting information. You could ignore it, but at least you will see the contrast point and then you will be able to make an informed decision. And for plausibility bias, verify the information in another source. Ask for a source, then check the source, see if that's true. Don't fully believe just because it looks right. Then another bias, extra bias, is the Dunning-Kruger effect. This is a real code. I said it. I use cursor. I'm a developer now. I did it. I said it. Of course, I didn't know what I was doing, but I did it. And this is something that's happening a lot. And you're seeing a lot of articles. We won't need developers anymore. I can do anything. And it's not true. You can't do anything. You can do more things, but you can also really, really, really fuck it up. So this is something, the Dunning-Kruger effect means when you don't know a lot about the topic, you think you know a lot because you don't know the things that you don't know. So you feel like an expert, and then you can make terrible decisions, or you can act like a fool because you think like an expert and you're like an expert, and then you're just saying silly things, okay? And GenAI, because it's quick and it gives you sometimes shallow responses and make you feel like, yeah, this is covered. I know system designs now because I ask a couple of questions. I'm an expert, okay? So how can we prevent the Dunning-Kruger effect? It's okay to use AI to assist us on things that we don't know, but if we really depend on the answer, we should involve an expert on the assessment of the final output. And if we are learning and we want to know if we really learned by using AI, I recommend you to try to do the task without AI next time. See if you really learned or you're just mimicking, or force yourself to repeat whatever it was there in the answer without looking at AI. And the last one, and I think this is something most of us realize in the near future, the sunk cost fallacy. And I don't know if you know this movie, because you can see Tom Hanks here with a very young lad here, but I'm going to put the video.
Anna and Walter are young, single, and in love. They've got good jobs, fabulous futures, a magnificent new home that they bought for a saucy. Who says they can't have it all? It's gonna be fine fixing it up, you'll see.
Well, this is an old house. It's gonna keep somewhere. If I crack $5,000, just a deposit. A little work. When the book you can start. Just as soon as your check clear, a little chair. Do you really virus hops? Yes, it is.
Did you know the movie? Have you ever been through a renovation process? It's a little bit like this. Everything breaks, but it's like we invested so much already. We should continue. And I think this is already happening. I don't know if we're aware, but sometimes you feel like you spend more time fixing AI mistakes than if you just had done the work yourself. So how can we prevent this from happening for us and for our customers? How can we make sure that AI is really fixing a problem and is making us go faster and not slower, but with the perception that we're going faster? We need to implement real cost and effort metrics. We need to understand there might be a learning curve, and it could be that at the beginning it's taking a little longer because you need to understand how it works, the model is learning, etc., etc. But at some point, the metrics need to start being better. You need to have lower cost per task and lower time to task completion. And if you're not, you're fooling yourself. You should stop working with AI. You should do it yourself because you were better already. Okay? Cool. So to finalize, just some reminders. AI amplifies our users' laziness. So all the mental shortcuts are bigger and more dangerous with AI. Awareness is our first defense. If we know that there are some cognitive bias that might be affecting the development or the usage of a specific product, we can try to prevent them. If we know how they work, which one they are. We need to treat AI like a confident intern. Everyone says that, and I think it's totally true. Very confident. So we need to double check everything and it's not an expert. We are the experts. And in this case, remember we said that we didn't want to make our users think and that the effort should be lower than the reward. But in this case, I think we need to add a little friction. And in this case, friction is a feature, not a bug. Because if we can ensure that we can provide a better outcome for our customers, if we help them think, recheck, then we're succeeding as product makers. So we need to make them think a little bit now. Okay? All right. So thanks a lot.